The loss was still fresh, the silence was heavy, and everyone wanted an answer to one thing. Who was going to speak up after the kick? That changed everything. That's the moment Derrick Henry decided to talk. And when he did, it wasn't to criticize, point fingers, or dodge responsibility. Quite the opposite. What he said about Tyler Loop caught people off guard, hit emotionally, and revealed a side you rarely see right after such a painful elimination. Because this isn't just a story about a missed kick. It's about leadership, about what happens away from the cameras, and about a conversation that could completely change the future of a young player in the NFL. What Henry said inside that locker room helps explain why this moment is still going to spark a lot of discussion, and why what comes next is absolutely worth sticking around to hear. Right after the game ended, with the stadium quiet and the loss still raw, Derrick Henry didn't hesitate to look for Tyler Loop. At a time when a lot of people pull away, he did the opposite. He stepped in, spoke calmly, and made it clear he understood exactly how heavy that moment was. It wasn't a rehearsed speech or empty words. It was a human reaction from someone who knows one play doesn't erase everything it took to get there. Henry made it clear he felt his teammates' pain and knew how much that moment hurt. He didn't try to downplay the mistake or pretend nothing happened. Instead, he acknowledged the impact, the frustration, and the emotional weight that comes with a play that big. By doing that, he showed that mistakes are part of the game, and that, in that moment, the most important thing was not letting the pressure crush someone so young in the league. The message was simple and straight to the point, like an honest conversation after a really hard day. Henry told Loop to hang in there that night, to let himself feel it, but to remember that tomorrow always comes. The sun rises again, your head clears, and life keeps moving. That way of looking at it pulls a mistake out of the center of everything and gives control back to the person, reminding him that one moment doesn't define an entire career. That first show of support already hinted at something bigger than comfort. Henry was preparing Loop to look past that missed kick and start seeing what that moment could mean down the road. And that's exactly where his message starts to go deeper, turning a painful mistake into something that can become strength later on. Henry said he was direct with Loop and talked about something everyone has been through. There are nights that feel endless when a mistake just keeps replaying in your head over and over. He told the kicker to accept that feeling in the moment instead of running from it, because pretending it doesn't hurt only makes it heavier. The message was clear. It's okay to hurt right now. But then came the most important part of the conversation. Henry reminded Loop of something simple, almost obvious, yet powerful when everything feels lost. Tomorrow the day will start again. The world doesn't end on one play, one kick, or one game. When the sun comes up, your mind works differently, the pain eases, and things start to look clearer. That kind of message doesn't erase the mistake, but it completely changes how it's viewed. Henry didn't promise that everything would be fine right away, and he didn't rush the process. He simply made time an ally, showing that the worst feelings usually hit hardest in those first few hours after the fall. Once that passes, you start finding your way back up. That first step, realizing the mistake isn't permanent, opens the door to something bigger. Because in Henry's eyes, that missed kick wasn't the end of Tyler Loop's story. To him, it was just the beginning of something that hadn't even been written yet. Henry went beyond immediate comfort and shared a deeper perspective with Loop. He told him that one day, this moment would make sense, that this painful mistake didn't happen by accident, and that eventually it would be part of a good story, the kind that shows growth and resilience, not as a negative label, but as a turning point. The way Henry explained it was simple and easy to understand. He basically said that some situations only show up because the person is strong enough to handle them. Nobody gets placed under that kind of weight without having, deep down, the ability to carry it. That changes everything, because it turns a mistake from punishment into opportunity. That message removes Loop from the role of the night's villain and places him as the main character in his own growth. Instead of carrying guilt, he carries responsibility, and those two things are very different. Responsibility means learning, improving, and coming back better. Guilt only freezes you. Henry made a clear distinction between the two, and by doing that, he showed real belief in what was ahead. It wasn't just a nice quote for the media. It was genuine conviction. And that belief opens the door to another key part of the message, one that talked about strength, faith, and resilience when things are at their toughest.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Henry made it clear he believed Loop was exactly where he needed to be. In his view, nobody goes through something like that without having the emotional strength to deal with the consequences. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it does mean it's possible. That framing turns a mistake into a test, not a sentence. By saying that, Henry reinforced something incredibly powerful for a young player. He was basically saying, if you made it this far, you can handle this too. That kind of confidence coming from a team leader carries way more weight than any technical breakdown or cold analysis of the game. That message helps take the focus off the fear of messing up again. When someone believes in you at that level, your mindset shifts. Instead of stepping onto the field frozen, you step on wanting to prove to yourself that you can overcome it. Henry planted that exact seed in Loop, and none of this was done for attention. It was about protecting a teammate during one of the hardest moments of his career. That approach reveals something bigger about Henry, something that goes far beyond what he does with the ball in his hands. Derrick Henry's words show that leadership isn't about yelling, blaming, or pointing out mistakes at the wrong time. Sometimes, leadership is knowing what to say when nobody else does. It's understanding that a young player doesn't need more pressure, but someone help organize his thoughts when everything feels overwhelming. Henry used simple, easy-to-understand words, almost like a normal conversation. And that's exactly why they were so powerful. He didn't speak like a superstar. He spoke like someone who's been through hard moments and knows the game can be brutal, but also knows it gives second chances. That kind of attitude builds respect in the locker room and strengthens a group, even after a painful loss. By protecting Loop in that moment, Henry also protected the team, preventing one mistake from becoming a bigger wound than it ever needed to be. In the end, Henry's message turns a missed kick into a lesson in growth and strength, making it clear that some falls aren't there to break you. They're there to teach you how to get back up stronger. At the end of this episode, what's clear is that this story goes far beyond a missed kick. Derrick Henry's words show how real leadership shows up in the worst moments, when it's easy to hide or point fingers. Instead, he chose to protect, guide, and prepare a young player for what comes after the fall, making it clear that one mistake doesn't erase talent, work, or a future in the NFL. Now, the big question is how Tyler Loop will use this moment. Mistakes like this stick with you, but they can also become fuel for growth, maturity, and confidence. With the right support in the locker room and a full offseason ahead, this moment could be remembered not as the end, but as the beginning of a major turnaround in his career. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think Derrick Henry's approach can really help Tyler Loop come back stronger, or does this kind of mistake weigh too heavily on a young kicker in the NFL? Drop your opinion in the comments, because this conversation says a lot about leadership, pressure, and what truly builds a strong team when everything goes wrong.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.